This episode is especially for Tammy and Sophie. Okay, so today's episode is all about the tomato. I'm getting quite a lot of questions at the moment about what to do with the tomato. How to look after it, how to prune it, how to encourage it to fruit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the ones that I've got. So I sowed these at the very beginning of February. It's now almost the end of April. They've done quite well. I repotted them about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they have almost outgrown their space underneath the staging here. And unfortunately, because they're a little bit out of the way, I have let them get away from me, as it were. So you get two different types of tomatoes, basically. You get the bush tomato, which very often will be a cherry tomato, and you'll find that people say, oh yes, you can grow them in hanging baskets and you don't have to do any work with them. I have tried to do that with bush tomatoes, just leave them to do their thing, and actually I found that they get very congested. It's really difficult to pick out the tomatoes when they do grow. It's difficult to find the ripened ones in amongst all the foliage, and it also really does encourage blight, which is a sort of fungal disease that affects your tomatoes and also affects any member of the Solaris family, so that's also the potato as well. So you don't want blight. It makes the fruit go really mouldy and mushy and horrible, and it will spread through all your crops. So I always treat mine as the cordon variety, and basically it's like a long stalk and then you've got the fruit coming off like this at the sides. So I think you'll find that most commercial growers actually have their fruit growing in a cordon style, because it means that there's plenty of air to circulate around the leaves and the fruit. It's easy for the bees to get to the flowers and pollinate them. And also it means that you can see where the fruit is, and you're not going to get so much blight if it is around. Okay, to encourage strong growth through the plant, and also to make sure that you don't have any extra foliage, you need to take off these little bits here that grow between the leaf stem and the actual stem itself. So you can just pinch them out like that, or if it's got a little bit too far away from you, which one of these has under here. So this one's got away from me a bit, and you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 little bits I need to take out. So these ones are quite small. I'm quite happy just to pinch them out. These are a little bit larger, so I use a snipper, because that gives a nice clean cut and you don't have to worry about any disease getting in there. So what I'm going to do is, oh, there's another one there. I'll probably just take that one out. That's it. Marvellous. So what I'm going to do, so having done that with those, I will continue to tie these up into the bamboo canes. I'll do that with all of my tomato plants today, because I have to say I have neglected them a bit because they're underneath the staging and I don't look down there as much as I should, because I've got quite a lot of nice things to look at up here. I'll do that all today. I'm going to build my little structure that I'm going to have to support the tomatoes that are going to be in the greenhouse long term, and then I shall plant them in the greenhouse, and they were going to get really big, I hope. One other thing that I think is actually quite interesting, which I've done as a little experiment, I sowed all of these at the end of January, beginning of February, and as an experiment I decided I should sow some tomato plants. So I've actually sown 2 rows here. I've got a row of black cherry tomatoes. I've actually properly labelled these this time, unlike the ones I grew in January or February. and then I've got a row of Provençal ones, and you can see the Provençal ones have already started coming up. No sign of the black cherry ones yet. So although I sowed these on the 13th of April, I am still expecting them to produce fruit this year. But it's just a little experiment to see how much difference I get between the ones that I grew in the early part of the season and the ones that I'm growing later on. So yesterday I built my structure for the tomatoes. I filled the little bags here with 100 litres of compost each. I didn't plant the tomatoes yesterday because it got so hot yesterday afternoon. They would have just wilted, so I thought I'd put it off till today. I did decide which plants to put in there. I just selected the ones that looked the tallest, the strongest, and the ones that were growing up too high to fit underneath the staging here. I checked them all over and took out any extra little bits that didn't need to be there. One thing I didn't do is point out that you should never pinch the tops out. The whole point of this is to have them growing nice and tall, and you can see here you've got the flower spikes coming through here, which is where the fruit will come. You want lots of space between the leaves and the fruit. If you pinch the tops out, it makes them go bushy. So if you wanted a bushy tomato plant, you could pinch the top out. I don't. I prefer, even if it says it's a bush tomato, I like to easily access the fruit when it's growing, so I tend to let them grow high and take out all the extra bits, but never pinch out the top. So today what I'm going to do is what I've done here. So I did a few already just to check out my my method. I identified that I need to take any supporting canes out before I try and plant them on, otherwise they just get in the way. So I've planted 3 there. What I've tried to do is select what I'm hoping will be 3 different types for each compost box. So I know that this one is a Provençal by the big leaves. I'm hoping that this one and this one here will be 2 different types of cherry tomato, but I'll find out when they actually ripen. I'm afraid I won't be able to tell before that. So this is hopefully a cherry tomato of some description. I've already taken the cane support stuff away. Now see, this is the bit that really scares me. So I'm going to have to. It's a little bit wibbly wobbly. This serves me right for sowing them a little bit earlier on the season than I should have done. Plus, because they actually could carry on growing in here, they haven't filled the pot with their roots. So when I turn this upside down, imagine you're making a sandcastle on the beach is the best way I can say to this. Okay, so this absolutely scares me. So I've got this bit here around the base. I'm just supporting it ever so slightly. Oh, actually, you know what I need to do first is make the hole. Oops, there we go. Literally, just with my hands. This is where I'm going to put the tomato plant, and I need to try and make it as close up against this as I can so that I can tie it in nicely. Really scary bit. Luckily, I do have a few other tomatoes if this one all goes dreadfully peak-tong. Go. Okay. So here it comes. There we go. So we're still upside down here. You can see the roots are coming in nicely. It's not pot bound at all. So now is the other scary bit. It's kind of like making a souffle, I suppose, or something. A jelly, turning it out. Go. So holding it gently, support it in there. Put it away a little bit at the sides, just to try and get it in there. Oh gosh, it's so scary, this bit. You can see I'm just trying to tease it in there. And there we go. And then I'll backfill compost that I've got here. Now it's not massively close, but I do think that as it grows it will hopefully thicken up a bit, and I can always add another cane on the outside for the time being if I need to. So once I've got it all pressed in there, I get some of my twine and tie the trusty old figure 8, so around the plant, cross it over, and then tie it in a granny knot or whatever on this side. And as you see, that gives it a bit of movement, and it means that there's enough space in there for the plant to actually grow a bit thicker without worrying about it constricting its growth. I'll water it all in. What I also do, depending on how deep I've planted it, is I take off the bottom leaf. Usually the compost will settle a bit, so I've left it just with the 100 litres, plus I'm still not exactly flush with compost at the moment. Normally what I'll do is I'll leave it like that, and then about sort of 4 weeks, 6 weeks in, when a lot of the nutrients that the original compost will have been used up by the plant, I'll put another 50 litres on top where everything's sort of settled down, and give the plants a bit more extra nutrient. And as they start setting flowers, I will also be feeding them Tomorite or something with the right kind of nutritional value in it. So I'll now just get on and finish the last 2, and I shall probably take the empty pots and pot on some of my chilies, because you can see that ones that go into a bigger pot seem to be growing faster than the ones in the smaller pots. So I've got some in much smaller pots that I could do with potting into larger ones. I'm not sure what chilies they are, but hopefully they'll grow. Well, I hope you found today's episode useful. I hope your tomatoes are doing well. Give me a shout, put a comment below if you've got any questions to do with tomatoes, and if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, press the bell so that you get notifications of the new episodes that come along. Thank you very much, and see you next time.